One. What's up, everybody? It's Sunny from Sunny Ratio. Our sponsor for today is Raz Rocket, and today I'm joined by Matheus. Am I pronouncing it correctly?
You can call
Yeah,
me Matt. It's Mateus, but you can feel
Matt.
free to
Okay,
call me Matt, bro.
awesome. So, Matt, where in the world are you calling in from today?
From Brazil.
From Brazil. So today's conversation is going to be an interesting and far-reaching one. We're going to talk about something that's near and dear to my heart, which is Bitcoin and all of that Web3 crypto stuff that you've been working in as well. And then we're going to talk about AI, right? Another area that you and I are working closely together through Charles, and
Yeah.
we're both, equally pumped about, all the crazy innovation. I have some stuff I want to share with you as well, like something that happened yesterday, but we'll bring it up further down the
Nice.
line. So maybe before we talk about your companies, before we talk about Bitcoin, we talk about AI, let's start with your background. Yeah. Like, so before you discovered any of this crazy stuff, what were you up to? What's your backstory? Yeah.
Well, that's a great starting point. First of all, thank you, Sunny, for having me in this episode. I hope that everyone enjoys the content. Well, to begin in the beginning, right? I started my professional career as an engineer here in Brazil. The oil and gas is one of the major fields, especially where I live in a small state called Espírito Santo. So we do have a lot of presence in the oil and gas industry in the university, like the sponsored programs and all. So I started working in my thesis, my graduation thesis, in robotics, a very familiar theme for you, right, Sunny? And it was about building small equipments, automated equipments
Mm-hmm.
for some automations in the oil gas field, like cleaning and sea navigation and all. This is a whole field on that. It was like a big new field, big challenge for me. I was just a beginner in my first years of engineering. That got me on the wonders by the technology of it, not only by the mechanical parts of it, but the software that would take the automation forward and all. And I started studying more software in the later days of my graduation, still in the mechanical engineering course. And then I saw an opportunity of doing a master degree in computer simulations. That would be simulating thermal and fluid flows. Also by programming, by uh, creating computer models for those simulations. And this is where I started. I was doing engineering, but the thing that I was loving the most was actually writing the lines of code to make everything happen, based by the thermal fluids and all in the engineer still in the engineering field. But I figured out that software was my go-to, was my dream coming true. And then I found myself at my early days.
So you said you started with robotics? That was like your initial
Yeah.
specialty? Oh wow,
Yeah.
that is fascinating. So what got you interested in robotics? Just curious. And
It
how
was
long ago was this?
it was an opportunity in the university. You know those Lego kits that they teach kids
Of
on how to
course.
program,
Yeah,
move
yeah, yeah.
forward, taglines,
Yeah.
So there was a specific program inside the university where we would interact with these robotic kits to do competitions and all. And the teacher that was ahead of the program at the time, she would also do some programs in schools, like primary schools, teaching kids from 10 to 12, 14, 15 years old to program with those kids. So it was like initial gig. It was part of the university program, but that was also something on the side. So it was kind of opportunity. I didn't aim for robotics. So when entering the university, of course, it's a super cool topic. I guess no kid entering a mechanical engineering university is going to say no. I hate robotics, right? So it wasn't my favorite topic. It wasn't the thing that I was pursuing, but I was really excited for the opportunity. And then I discovered that the field was so large, and the short experimentation cycle of programming something and seeing in practice for me was much more thrilling than the actual long projects of engineering that you draw something up, you do 100 projects, and then you got to build single one. It takes months for it to go from blueprint to actual uh, output in the traditional engineering things that you do. With robotics, no, in a few minutes, you do a quick fix for that corner that the robot is not doing that well. The development cycle is way shorter. So that got me hooked very easily.
Very interesting. Cool. So I guess take us further down your journey before you encountered, your or started your business rather, and started getting into. I'm really curious about your backstory on how you even got into crypto and all that stuff.
Well, I was freelancing after I did my master degree. Brazil industry when I started my university, the industry in Brazil was still growing, civil engineering and all, the industry was still growing, but it halted by some political decisions at the time that are still going. So the industry decline of Brazil is sharp, like the amount of our GDP coming from industry is each year lower and lower. So there wasn't much jobs for engineers after graduation, for you to work with engineering, yeah, even robotics or something like that. So I started freelancing, get some gigs and all. And one of the gigs that appeared for me was to work at a crypto company in São Paulo. I had to move to São Paulo, live there for 4 or 5 years or so. And it was nice because I went from junior dev to dev lead, director, CTO, and a district lead, area lead in the company in less than 4 years. So I grew a lot. Was like a fast track to become expert in the field. And then I started my own company in 19. It was a perfect time to start a company, December 19, just before the pandemics. It was crazy. The first few years were very challenging, to say the least. But then things turned out. I started venture miner after as a pivot from the company that I was working at. And then we started looking more at founders. I always did a lot of education. So I guess fast forward from starting robotics in the university to what I do now, it's more like a evolution period in my founder journey.
So to take us through that evolution period a little bit, right? Just because like I feel like most of my audience is are entrepreneurs or they're people who are thinking about becoming techpreneurs or whatever, right? Like they want to start their own business. So how did that evolution look? And then also like just if you can double click on like it was interesting how you came across crypto because it almost like found you. But like, was there like a moment where you were just like, oh my God, this is actually like super cool. This is perhaps, much larger than, just a job or a gig or whatever.
Yeah, actually, I got in that first gig because the guy wanted to do a commodities exchange between Brazil and Africa. At the time, was some crazy stuff using crypto payments as the rails, like we see nowadays in 2025, 2026, stablecoins being used as payment ways. That the guy was trying to do that in 2016, I guess. But the project went sideways. The guy uh, started doing like crypto investments and as most crypto things, it turns crazy when you go that direction. So I left the company in 19 or so, but I learned a lot in that period. So after that, I saw a big market demand for talent in Web3 in general. I saw in 2018, I was still active in the company when there was the ICO bubble. We missed all of them, but one single trade that happened, if I recall correctly, was when Bitcoin had a fork of Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash. At that time, one single new token, like almost doubled your amount of assets at the time. You would have one Bitcoin, then at the same time, next block, you have one Bitcoin, one Bitcoin Cash. Of course, the value fell a lot, but if you could trade in that opportunity, made a lot of money. So I saw that ICO bubble coming, the amount of opportunities and all. And I saw that the teams that were succeeding were ahead because of talent, because they had the right people with the right token economics understanding, with the right architecture at the right time. So that was my thing. And I'm saying, oh, if I start a company, I'm going to start doing boot camps. I'm going to hire the best talent. I'm going to give good services in the market. So I started my own agency in 19 with this idea. and this is where it started, kind of the spark. Then I found out that most of my assumptions were wrong, some parts, but this is what gave me the feel for like 3, 4 years of going into this agency work before starting Venture Minor.
Interesting. So what is venture miner? Where does the name come from? Does it have anything to do with crypto mining or something totally
Uh,
different?
This is more metaphor. We mind ventures. We mind new companies. That's the idea. So we teach people how to code, not just for them to work as employees. If they want, of course, they can find a job. But the idea is to teach you how to code for you to start a new venture, for you to be empowered to take these ideas into practice. So venture miner has this name of miner because when you are mining blocks in a blockchain, you do collect all the transactions in the main pool, right? You don't create those transactions, maybe one or two, but you don't initiate all of these transactions. You collect these transactions out there, put in a block, right? This is kind of the metaphor. We mind ventures. We take all the ideas out there, get the talents there, and then we propose these blocks that are the ventures to the world. And this is the comparison. I know the name is not that great for who is not into Web3, but if you get the reference, you get the reference. Oh, we are here mining ventures, so that's the pun in the name.
So what are some of the ventures you guys have mined over the years?
Oh, we did 7 so far. Some of them with our friend Charles, an AI to write books. We did email automation campaign generator with him as well. We did one of our most recent project got a lot of traction in the United States called Shop Maven. It's an AI to automate sales with WhatsApp. You understand your product catalog and can sell for you. We did one of our first projects was a kind of gambling, but not gambling project in Brazil for horse competitions called Pisteiro. Then we saw the potentials for NFTs on that and created a project called NF Boost. Just before the NFT boom, we were in the right path, in the correct time to become millionaires. But then something's happened in the project. I can tell this story as well. So that was our first big disaster in the company after NF Boost. We incubated in a company called Leadership. If you Google that up, you're going to see that it went bankrupt and all was crazy. So that project is dead. We did a chatbot for pregnant women called EaseB. We did a carbon credit project, a carbon credit, tokenized carbon credit marketplace. We call it Take Carbon, Take because it's Japanese for bamboo. Take Carbon AI, not AI, Web3 marketplace for carbon credits. So if you go for venturemind.com/studio, you're going to see the full list. I unfortunately don't have a big successful project that started on VentureMiner yet, but it was some fun. I can say that the journey was very fun to go with all of these projects so far.
What would you say is like the key takeaway lesson that you've gathered from all of this? Yeah.
Well, it's all a trial and error. You know that you're going to win in your head, but then you go there and you find the world. It, it, it is different from what it is in your head, right? Things happen. Distribution is hard. Selling is hard. Regulations. Founders break up, lose interest. Employees leave a company or get acquired by the competition. The world is fierce, you know. You go build something and then the world tear you down is about having grit and the strength to endure and build something lasting. That's the common factor for all successful startups, aren't they, Sonny? You know it very well, right?
Yeah, far too well. So, that's a great kind of background on yourself, on how you found crypto or crypto found you. Let's switch gears a bit and talk to me about AI. I mean, in my view, this is uh, ginormous, and I
Yeah.
feel very similar to the way I felt when I first came across Bitcoin. Um, it's just like this obsession. You just can't stop thinking about it. I find myself like constantly tinkering and building. And I mean, I know there's like this kind of dark side to it that a lot of people are worried about it and how it might, obviously job loss and et cetera, et cetera. But I gotta admit, like on a personal note, I am absolutely delighted by this tech, and I'm just just happy that I'm alive during this kind of renaissance. Yeah. So, but tell us about your story. Like, how did you come across? So, was it ChatGPT like most others? Was it something else? I mean,
Yeah, no,
yeah,
yeah. Well, AI, when you discover AI nowadays, it seems like wonder. Oh, someone invented the Holy Grail, right? Grail. But coming back a few decades ago, a couple decades ago, you can see how it was evolving. I interfaced with AI, specifically neural networks, deep neural networks in my graduation, because it was a tool. Whenever you have too many variables to calculate, like a thermal flow, injecting steam in a mixture of fluids and all, but whenever you have those very complex situation where you have a lot of variables, a lot of very crazy equations, you compute everything. That is a normal way to do things, the physical, mathematical way to compute and discover all the equations and all. And that is a statistical way that you just try to model everything with a statistical model, and then you throw some numbers and see if they result with something close to reality. Sometimes it's garbage, sometimes they adhere. And there are some techniques out there called neural networks that are part of those big AI models that can solve this. And it at the time, it looked like a trick, a shortcut. Oh, this interesting technique. You build this neural network to solve this specific physical problem that you have. There are too many variables for you to solve them discretely or even with a computation model. So you solve it statistically. That's cool. That was my understanding of AI in 2016. And I knew that it could be applied for a lot of things, like computer vision in robots, looking at valves. I even had some friends studying that at the time of engineering. And that's cool. I had AI in my head as a very interesting technique that you could apply in some niches to solve things where you don't want to solve them in the correct way of doing all the equations. You do a Jerry job, a gambiarra, like we call it in Brazil, and you throw some numbers and it solves. Okay, that was AI for me in 16. When I heard back of it in 2022, Transformers, it was GPT-2 at the time. And I saw, hey, these guys are applying these deep neural networks to language. That's not going to work. At the time, we had uh, um, it was from IBM, Watson chatbot. That was absolutely terrible for predicting text, and now you had to guide it correctly. And then GPT-3 came and it proved us wrong. Yes, you can just throw a lot of data in those wrong models, wrong with a lot of codes. Okay, I'm not an expert to say that the assumptions are wrong. It's just that it's not actually modeling language. It's just transformers with a bunch of statistics on it. So it worked. And GPT 3.5 was good enough to produce outcomes for writing text and contracts. People were fine-tuning that. And then all the models that came after that with all of these capabilities and now cloud models, Gemini 3, it's almost human level intelligence. It was a bit of a surprise for me, coming from my background from engineering, that I saw AI as a very niche and specific tool for solving some kind of problems, to now a generalistic language model that can reason with a lot of quotes here. Then when I studied that deeper, when I started teaching boot camps about AI, I saw that they don't reason at all. They just predict the next token. But this is another talk. Speaking about my experience with AI, this is how I would summarize my new encounter with AI after half a decade of using it at university.
That's fascinating. So, given what you shared earlier, that you were essentially teaching code, right, to I guess entrepreneurs or would-be entrepreneurs to help them manifest their vision of some sort of entrepreneurial venture, right? Um, how has that changed now with the introduction of I
Bro,
mean, like common, today's AI, yeah?
this is kind of 90% of what I do nowadays. And I'm very straightforward with this. This is actually a problem. People are not learning how to code anymore, and they're using AI as a shortcut. But as everything in life, since it's there and we cannot fight it, we need to embrace it. It is human behavior. We try to save resources. We are not going to spend 6 months learning how to code if we can just ask ChatGPT and it's going to output a Python script to do that thing for me. Okay, given that, let's not fight against this anymore. It's a lost battle. Given that, what we can do of good with it? If people are jumping out there producing code that they don't understand and putting that in production, okay, let's try and plug in there. You build a code, you build your prototype. We're not going to stop you from doing that. But what if you take this short class here on architecture? What if you hire this consultancy here to make sure that you're not going to leak your client's data and that your payment processing is going to work well? Oh, now you have an MVP. I acknowledge that spending 2 years learning and then building an MVP doesn't work anymore. I'm not trying to advocate for that. I used to think like that in the past, that you needed to have the background and all. You needed to work in your MVP for it to be flawless. And then we launched several projects with zero clients. Okay, I was proven wrong. But still, going heads down to a product that is still all buggy because the AI can't reason is still wrong as well. So we need to find a middle ground, compromising in both sides. And this is my approach to something that is a big movement called vibe coding. It's basically 90% of everything that we do at Venture Miner. We're launching a new brand called Vibe Spaces is exactly for that. And we want to bridge this gap from people that are not willing to learn how to code anymore. People don't want to learn Python, TypeScript. They just want to get rich. Okay. But still, there's almost a century of knowledge on how to design systems that need to be merged and applied for building those new ventures. And this is what we believe at Venture Miner.
That is cool. That's something I can get behind for sure. I like that. Hey, Matthias, maybe tell us a little bit about what, first of all, is Clutch even public or is that still under wraps? Maybe we can talk about that on the next call. Like,
Yeah.
are you able to talk about it, or do you want to give people a little bit of a, preview, and maybe we could do like a follow-up interview where we go a bit deeper into it?
Clutch is the cherry on top of the cake because from everything that we learned at the studio, we even launched Clutch V1 like 3 years ago, and it was like an automation tool. And now the distribution is the most important part right now. Being able to build a good piece of code, it's like of a commodity nowadays. If you have the right techniques and the right people, of course, not only AI, but being able to distribute is the new edge. And this is where Charles is spearheading Clutch V2 very well with your help as well, Sunny, and everything that we've been discussing in the backstage, right? So the Clutch V2 is public. We started with MVP, kind of fork from the whole vision that is Mailbox as a service, which is live. People can consume that. It's self-service for now. And this is going to be the phase releases that we're going to have to Clutch. Instead of building 6 months something big and release it out once, we're going to release small pieces of it and growing the software as we go. So if you want to check it out, clutchgpt.com. It's going to be the next big piece of the studio and with all of the lessons learned from all of these years.
I love it. I love it. Hey man, I know we're at the end of our kind of 30 minutes. Like I said, the door is definitely open for a follow-up or a weekly or monthly or whatever. I feel like it's rare that I meet people who overlap with those three interests, like robotics, AI, and Bitcoin. And given that that's like a central theme of my, show or whatever, I'd love to have you back on and where we go deeper. I mean, maybe I'll save this one for another episode, but yesterday I started tinkering with Claudebot, like CLAWD.
Cloudbot.
Oh my God. Like, what on earth is going to happen? Who knows? But this is some next level stuff going on. But anyways, why don't you maybe help me land this plane a bit? Like tell people where people can learn more about you. Are you on Twitter, LinkedIn, email, I don't know, whatever. And then about your
Yeah,
companies, and so that people can, yeah.
for sure. Ventumine.com, that's the go-to place. If you go for Ventmark.com/academy. You're going to see all of events. So we're doing a campaign in São Paulo right now. You can meet us online, demo days as well. We sometimes go to New York and SF mainly during tech week. So these are the best opportunities for catching up. And we might do a next episode, right, Sunny? Maybe one
I'm ready.
about blockchain, one about robotics, one about AI. That could be
And then
cool.
maybe a fourth one where we talk about all three of them coming together.
Yeah, and how to vibe code something we call cloud code live. That
Yeah.
would be a
Oh,
good
that would be a
episode.
fun session. We should just do a session where we're like vibe coding something into existence. That would be different
Yeah,
and that would be fun. That would be fun. Where we like in an hour, we just put something together or like 10 hours or
yeah.
whatever. But I would love to do something like that. Cool, man. Well, brothers from different mothers, love your energy. Hopefully we're gonna be able to work I guess even more closely together in the future. And yeah, and maybe this is the first of many episodes. So thank you very much.
Looking forward for it, brother. Thank you very much.
And thank you everyone for tuning in.